Hi.
Hi, Aditi.
Hi, Venika. Okay, so today we will be doing pencil sketching portraiture. So this is a very brief introduction to portraiture. We have a whole month of portraits in May. So uh, right now it's just a way to practice pencil at the I would say highest level of difficulty, but also it asks a lot of us to so that we can get a range of skills in pencil sketching by doing portraits. So normally when we illustration, I try to keep the illustration part just quick and fun, um, and just splash a lot of color and keep it very dynamic. And that's all well and good. But if you want to seriously improve your quality of art, at least in my opinion, it's best to indulge in a lot of pencil sketching almost all the time, every day, as much as you can, and draw anything. But over time, what happens is that you naturally start becoming better and better at using the pencil. But then there is a certain block where you've done objects, you've done some of the simple stuff like metal, glass, and everything. And then there is a little bit of a jump from inanimate objects and nature to portraits, because generally there is this whole idea that portraits are very tough. And I'm sure everyone has tried a portrait and something is off. So you feel discouraged. I've gone through that process myself. And you feel I'm never going to be able to do portraits. This is just too difficult. I try to draw one person, it turns out to look like somebody else. So the problem is that in many of these cases, you can overcome some of the problems that you cannot overcome when you're doing portraiture. So if you allow yourself a little more time with portraits, it will become I won't say it's never easy, but you start becoming closer, coming closer to drawing the features the way you see them. The problem is that we are not able to process the whole information from an artist's perspective. So when you make your first portrait, everything is all over the place. You might get in patches, you might get some features. You'll get one eye correctly, and then the other eye is all over the place. The distance between the eyes and the nose and the mouth and the chin, the shape of the face, and then the overall symmetry or asymmetry. These are all individual factors which we have to get absolutely right in portraits, only because recognizing faces is almost it's like an instinctive brain um, job. So this is something that through evolution has helped us evolve, has helped us survive for like 1 million years. So we cannot wish this away. And it's definitely not the same as observing objects like glass or, I mean, even for that matter, you won't, you might be able to make animals quicker than making faces. So the usual three things are at play over here. One is the ability to draw itself. So your own ability to draw anything. Freehand, an easy line, an accurate, predictable sketch, all that is one factor. Second is to be able to see clearly, to discern sizes, and to figure out contrast and tonal value with your eyes, just being able to catch it. That's the second aspect. And the third aspect over here is to be detached from the artwork enough to finish it without judging it. We start judging it from the second line. First line, though, of course, you make it, but of course, there are people who make the first line and erase, and first line again and erase. So we have to do this in bunches. Be comfortable with your skill level. It's only going to improve. Every line you draw, you're closer to a better level. So don't doubt that, but modulate it. So today, if you're making lines, of the 50 lines that you make in art, change a few of them. Change the pressure, change the way you hold the pencil. Try it out. Try multiple things. Then when you are observing, you can sometimes use words to figure out what you are seeing and then how you have to translate it onto paper. So it's the usual things. What size is it? How far does the line go? What angle do I have to draw it at? Is it curved? Is it straight? With respect to the previous line that I have drawn, what is the next that I have to do? These are the usual things that you can begin with. Eventually, that conversation becomes so rapid that the questions are not asked at all, and you are seeing things exactly the way you want to depict them. But it's not mystical at all. We've done this several times before. Now, what happens with faces is that a minor change can completely change the face altogether. And this we've seen in our lives, literally. There are few changes in our own features as compared to our parents or our grandparents. So there's so many times that we recognize somebody because we have seen their relative. But sometimes it's just a doppelganger. And you say, I know somebody in my office who looks exactly like you. And when the two are together, you can't figure out what is the similarity. And sometimes it's just the forehead or the nose. But imagine the rest of the time, our observation is so flawed. We've not seen these details. But with faces, most of us are able to quickly judge, quickly figure out that there is certain similarity. So the reason behind that, the evolutionary reason behind that, is that you could identify your clan. And I mean, from the beginning, because we were such a clannish people, if you're not part of my clan, I'm not going to give you any food. Unless you hunt and you start earning your keep, you're just going to wither. So you have to be sure that you are in the right group so that you get the food, or then you are hunting, you have to give the right people the food so that they can protect you. All this, it was all so ingrained. And because of that, all of us also suffer from this phenomenon called pareidolia. I've spoken about this earlier. So this is the ability to see faces in inanimate objects. So you will see a face if there's a bag which has two buttons and a zip. It's a bag. You know it's a bag. But not only can you see a face in that, you might even see an expression. If the zip is open and part of the zip is down, it'll look like a smiling face. And then there's an emotion. And then there's an attachment. And then we start becoming friends with an inanimate object. So this phenomenon is called pareidolia. So this is even in cracks in the wall, sometimes you see faces. But Alka is saying my voice is cracking. Is everyone also experiencing the same? No, it's okay. All right. So maybe Alka could reconnect or something. All right. So, okay, let's just wait for a minute. So the whole approach to faces needs to be a little patient. And if I can say, if you can give it 3 months of making 1 to 2 pencil sketched portraits every day for 3 months, then by the end of 3 months, you will be more comfortable, and you'll start seeing things very differently. And obviously, your hand will start moving very differently also. But this thing is almost like one of those magical mutual fund investments that they say, na, 3 महीने में पैसा double, that kinds. But this does happen. Your hand becomes so super confident. It's almost as if you've sprout wings and suddenly you can draw anything that you want to. So that investment is truly worth it. And you can just do it as a challenge for yourself, and you need not spend more than about half an hour a day in doing it. Half an hour twice a day or something like that. Time is important. It's not something that we can get away with. Meaning you can't say, okay, I'm just going to touch pencil to paper for 10 minutes. ऐसे नहीं होता है. If you're supposed to put in like 10,000 rupees, you can't just say, okay, I did one deposit of 10 rupees, same here. That time factor is important. But also what is important is examining. When you are drawing, examine how your lines are. They need to be very natural, very easy. So now I'm not there to see everybody's line, but let me just describe sometimes what happens. Notice if your hand is, when you are drawing, your hand needs to be freely moving. But when you're shading, you ought to only move your fingers in small areas, in small patches. Usually, when we do pencil sketches or sometimes pencil and charcoal, if it's a large area, you might use a whole charcoal stick or a graphite stick. So you will never do this kind of shading for a proper pencil sketch. So if your hand is moving in large areas, just stop that. Start making pictures no bigger than your palm. So don't make like a huge real face size portrait. That's not necessary. But even if you make something about this size or the size of your palm, there is enough and more detail in this that you can put that will help you in all these three cases. One is being able to draw properly, to be able to see properly, and then also to detach yourself. So this is what our aim is. I've seen grips, or pencil grips are sometimes flawed. You need to, I'm just going to demonstrate that. Now, all this comes in to play most importantly with pencil portraits. Huh? Everything else we can do all sorts of time pass, but here we have to be a little more, a little serious, a little forgiving, I would say, more than serious. Serious everybody is, but then they become too serious. And more importantly, when you're evaluating your work, you must be able to see what you have achieved before you critique. So the moment you find something negative, you have to first look for something positive, address the positive, and then you can critique it. If you only critique it, you will just miss out on the stuff that you have got right. All right. So pencil grips. If you're holding your pencil too close, you're not able to see what your pencil is doing. Let me just spotlight. Oh, sorry. I am spotlight for everyone.
Yeah.
Okay, great. All right. So pencil grip, hold the pencil very lightly and a little far away. So the further you hold the pencil, the better you are able to see the geography. It's almost as if you are standing on a tall building and you are able to plot your journey much better when you have an aerial view. When you're this close, as you can see, you can only see a small patch. And this is what we normally do because we are writing very small forms any case. So that's perfectly fine when you're writing. Although in time, your writing will also start changing the grip. You will do a much better job by holding the pencil further away. So pay attention to that. Then, like I said, are you moving your whole hand Can you see my wrist is frozen here and my entire hand is moving? This also often happens because in writing, we are used to planting our wrist down and just doing this much. So if we want to underline, which would be the longest line we would draw, this is how we will draw it. We will freeze the wrist and we will draw a long line like that. So when we have to do anything other than making a short line or multiple lines, many people I've seen are not comfortable with just moving their fingers. Their whole hand moves. So shading, just like this, back and forth. Now, when you are making that shaded line, you need to, even if you do this exercise frequently enough of making a box and practice shading very lightly without having to feel the need to blend. The pencil lines must blend into each other. Just this exercise itself can also be very, very helpful. So here everything is achieved. I've held the pencil further and pretty far away. My muscles are in control of the pressure that I'm applying over here. And once this is achieved, you can try to do all sorts of things in this. So suppose I want to create the illusion of a fold in fabric. I can slowly build depth by repeating the shading in a few areas and building up a three-dimensional effect. See? So it all needs to look very smooth and seamless without the temptation of blending with your finger or with a paper stump. So all of this we will be doing with portraits right now. So the exercises will help you to observe better, draw, and what is the word? Detach. Oh, is it a T or a CH? Okay, you know what I mean. So just pay attention to this as the goal for today. Right. Now, I'm going to give you a simple grid for drawing faces, which you can practice and make all sorts of faces with. So we're going to start off with an oval shape. You can also make it a little, regular oval is fine, like an egg. Now, every time you're drawing the line, I want you to just observe how my line is drawn. It's just a very smooth, easy line. It's not clunky and it is not cumbersome. So by clunky, I mean a line that comes like this. This is too clunky. We don't want that. And cumbersome is when you are trying like too hard or no, something like that. So you're not confident and you want to make the first line the right line. So can you see how there are multiple lines here also, but it's not smooth. There isn't any flow in this. Okay, so even if your shape were to come a little wonky, go over it again and make the pencil skate on paper. The next thing you do is draw a line vertically and horizontally across that circle or oval. Then each of these hemispheres you will divide in half. And the bottom hemisphere, the bottom half, you will divide in half also. Can you already see your face in this? You should be able to see your face in this also. This is just line. This is not even. We've put no features in yet a faces over. All right. So now we're going to make eyes on either side of the center line, the vertical center line, on the horizontal center. They're just almond shapes which are placed in such a way that the size of each of these almonds, the space equivalent to the size of these almonds is between them. So if you can see, this space almost looks like, if you fill it up, it will look like a third eye. It's a nice measure. Not everybody's eyes are exactly like that. Sometimes they are further apart, sometimes they're closer, but this is a good starting point. Otherwise, how would we begin? So the grid that I'm giving you is just the base minimum with which we can start. And then we can play around with this. So you can sometimes place the eye right on the line, sometimes higher, sometimes lower, fatter, all that. You can play with it. Now, for the eyes, we will make a circular iris, the same size, and try to keep it as close to a circle as you can, because if it is an oval over there, sometimes it can look really wrong. Just above the eye, you can make a small fold for the eyelid, and just about the size of your eye, you can, above the opening of the eye, so this distance and this distance, you can make the eyebrow. The shape of the eyebrow, again, is a problem that a lot of people have. So if this is your face, if you draw the eye like this, for some reason in your head, it could be that you feel the eyebrow is exactly like this. I don't know why or where this thing comes from, where you can see that demonstrably the eyebrow is not like that, but many people draw it almost like in a concentric circle to the eye. It's not like this. So it's usually flatter on top. And I've explained again, it's all down to evolution. The reason for this is that the eyebrow is meant to collect sweat from the forehead and train it down to the side of the eyes, and then it trickles down from the cheeks. And the reason for this is when our ancestors were trying to run away from predators, we could run away and survive because we are animals that can sweat. So it cools off our bodies, and that gives us a lot of stamina. I never even knew that. And now the sweating happens largely on the forehead because the brain needs to be kept cool more than anything else. If the brain heats up too much, you can fall unconscious. So we have excessive sweating on the forehead. And now imagine a creature that does not have eyebrows. The sweat just trickles down into the eye, and just at the time when the saber-toothed tiger is on your heels, a little bit of sweat goes in your eye and you trip and you fall, and that's the end of your line of species. So there must have been some sapiens that might not have had eyebrows, and they just probably died off because all the saber-toothed tigers ate them because they didn't have eyebrows. That'd be the most funny Mel Brooks story that one could write. So remember, the eyebrows therefore are thicker and around the top of the eye because they need to collect everything. And later on, I'll also show you how the structure of the eyebrows is almost like the hair are ushering the sweat towards the ends or the edges, outer edges of the eye, and encouraging all the sweat to come down the face from the correct place. It's just brilliant. I love how science works. Right. Now, from the inner corner of the eye, you can drop a line down, and this gives you an idea of where the nose can be and how wide. Now, again, very often there is we think that we can draw a nose that looks like that, and this is a very ugly nose. You can see it, but it does look like a real nose. So, how do we make a nose look like a nose but not this ugly? You don't have to draw such a wiggly worm for the nose. You can edit it. So, you can start off with just the base, just something like that is enough to indicate that there is some kind of feature over here. And then you can just draw the sides or the nostrils and leave it at that. So you can decide according to the rest of the face how much more detailed you want to make the face or the nose. All right. So here we are. So this gives us the nose. Now, a little wider than the nose, you can make the mouth. So just make the line a little wider. This is the opening of the mouth. And on top, you can make a slightly shallow curve, and the bottom, you can make a slightly wider curve for the mouth. Now, you'll notice that with this breakup of the face, if we were to finish the face, it's just going to become like a big round, like a moon face almost, and most unrealistic and pretty chinless. So at this point, you can make a few adjustments, and I encourage everyone to make these adjustments by observation. So while there will be 100 different tutorials of 100 different ways of breaking up faces, and they're brilliant, there are a few things that you can also ask yourself by looking in the mirror and say, okay, if I'm looking straight into the mirror, if these are the features that I have drawn, what is the distance between an imagined center of my face and the edge of my face when my face is looking straight into the mirror? And you might notice that the outer edge measured from the corner of the eye to the outside versus the inner corner to the center is usually less than the space in the center. The distance between the nose and the mouth, and say the center of the mouth, is usually less than the mouth and the chin. And then you can give it some kind of proportion that, okay, if this is the measurement, then the chin must be 1.5 times that measurement, or 1.25, or thereabouts. So you can figure this out for yourself. And then you can just join this. Again, how does your own jawline look? You can make the face puffy. You can make it slim. You can make it chisel. All this is just lines. So when people revere Leonardo da Vinci for coming up with all these proportions, I think as a single man who lived up to 90, he had a lot of time on his hand, and he just used his time properly. So he didn't have a wife and kids to look after. So he had the time to put in, and he did very well. So we just have to do something like that. It's not as if he had some supernatural power that he could see through bodies or something like that, right? So trust your judgment. And the more you trust your judgment, the better you will start observing. And of course, we'll respect Mr. Da Vinci, but bring in your own understanding freely. Now, from the eye line to where we've drawn the nose, that is where you can draw the ear. And again, use common sense and decide how long you want to make the ears. Sometimes, depending upon where the face is looking, the ear can also start somewhere here, somewhere in the middle, depending upon how the face is rotated. Now, this line gives you an indication of where the forehead needs to be. But if I make the forehead over here, it is too close to the eyebrows. So use this as a guideline and change the line. The reason why we make the forehead line somewhere over here is because very often when you are making a face, we don't see this part because that is really not important to us. You tend to notice just the faces, and unless, of course, the person has got spectacular hair, like that is their identity, you land up not even noticing it at all. So you very often people who start making portraits will make thinner or smaller chins, long noses, and practically no hair. So that the head often ends somewhere like this, and you wonder, what is it? This is as much as I see. So we need to extend the hair up quite a bit. Now, from the center of the eye, you can draw a guideline for the neck. And because, again, in the human body, nothing is attached like mechanics, you will use this only as a guideline so that you can create a good, graceful neck shape and flow the hair down up to the neck. And that's about as much as you need to practice faces. So this is like just a regular grid. And you can do all sorts of adjustments to this and keep changing the positions of the ear, nose, mouth, the shapes of the eyes, the mouth, sometimes even the hair. Make a large forehead, a small forehead, and see for yourself how it is looking, how the lines you make change the face. At as we advance, and we'll be doing this later in May also, the further process to this is to I don't know how. Yeah, I'm gonna have to tilt it. Is to practice your shading in these faces also. So right now, because I have been doing portraits for a while, I'm just from memory filling out certain dark spaces to give myself some depth in the picture. And if you've not made portraits before, this is a very unfamiliar territory, and that's the reason why a lot of beginners will land up making something like this. They will try to shade the nose, and it just lands up looking like somebody has just misplaced some straw in this area, or like sugarcane is growing out of the sides of his nose. So this is not shading. Yeah, and this is, of course, there's a shadow over here, but to what extent do we want to shade it? We'll be doing much of that. So I want you to just observe how even in his face this tiny, you can practice creating three-dimension faces really well. Then the other thing that I used to do, and I guess my school friends will be able to vouch for me, is in especially boring classes, I would put makeup on all my models. So I would put some eyeliner and eyeshadow and then put fake lashes and then do all this, all kinds of beautification. And since uh, we're all girls here, this can be extremely good time pass. So you don't have to do it on your face. But can you see how dramatically the face has changed even over here? It's the same eyes, but the moment you put shadows in a few places, it makes it completely different. This is why I think all Hindi movie actresses are looking like each other. I can't tell now whether it is Kiara Advani or Deepika Padukone. They just look exactly the same to me. All right. So I want you to try and recreate uh, this basic face one more time on a separate oval, just to do a study of whether you've got all the points or not, and play around a little bit. So try and make, say, if we've made the eyes on the line the first time, maybe you can make them below the line the second time. So don't be afraid to do these things. At the most, what you will land up with is a very comical caricature. But theek hai na, that's the only way you will know. So I'm going to make very full lips. And a small chin, I'm going to make a very chubby. So I'm not bringing the lines from the side closer. And I love making afros. So I'm going to give her a beautiful, ooh, so 60s. There you go. It's extremely wonderful time pass making faces. So there was a time when I was so obsessed with drawing the Mona Lisa. For some reason, I decided that that's the epitome of uh, beauty in, or just skill in portraiture, not beauty. I was too young to know what that meant. But at that time, it was significant, a significant shift in portrayal of humans in paintings. So it was shocking for people to come across, but not just because Da Vinci did it. A lot of artists at that time suddenly were doing very realistic looking paintings. So I used to spend time making postage stamp size pencil sketches of the Mona Lisa. And I showed this in one class last week. I'm just going to show you. Okay, so this was the as much as I got. So you can see it's not really, it's looking more like a man Lisa than Mona Lisa. The proportions are totally off, but it it has been made by just moving from one feature to another with shading. So as you can see, there isn't a grid made. I'll draw one feature, then I'll move to the next, and then the next with the first feature made, then I know how far I want to take the next line. And obviously, I was drawing it with the parallax. So if I hold the book like this, she might look more like Mona Lisa. But the moment I make it straight, the distances are a little off. So I'm going to give you that excuse. But yeah, I kept doing that. And it came from something like this before I knew about the grid, that I just wanted to make tiny, tiny faces, and you can learn a lot. All right, the next thing we're going to quickly move to is the structure of the eye. This is another thing that you can practice without just even making the face at all. Most of our emotions and expressions are evident through the eye. And if you can, very often, if you are shown just an eye, you are able to recognize who the person is. Sometimes not even both eyes, you just need one eye. So among all the features on the face, the more identifiable, easily identifiable features are the eyes. The hierarchy would be the eyes, the mouth, very rarely the nose, unless you have a very characteristic nose. or the nose, mouth, chin combination. I'm sure you must have solved some of these problems or no, quizzes in magazines. What face looks like what. Isn't it fascinating how you are able to see that? But if you were to be shown eyes and nose and mouth of dogs or cats, we might not be able to recognize. Or sometimes even in your own stuff, you won't be able to recognize. All right. So for the structure of the eye, leave a little room because we are going to start with the slit of the eye moving into the eyebrow. So we need more space on the top. Don't start drawing very close over here. So leave about this much space, and towards the bottom of that space, start off with a line, just a simple horizontal line. On one side, you will make what is the tear duct. It's like a sleeping U shape. And then we are going to make a slightly rounded almond shape. But now it's not completely round. As you can see, I've broken it up. I've made it a little angular. The bottom is not as rounded, and the lines do not touch each other on the outer end. There is a membrane that keeps the eyeball within this slit. So the structure of the eye is the eye socket in the skull, the eyeball within the eye socket, which is connected with a number of muscles. And then you have the iris and the lens. So all of these are more or less concentric circles. The lens is right in the middle of the iris. I think this can be a little bigger. So I have got the proportion off a little bit, but essentially that is how the structure of the eye is. There's a wonderful documentary by Richard Dawkins on how the eye evolved in itself. So right from single cell animals to multicellular animals, the eye evolved, or light sensitivity evolved even before we had eyes. And at one point, one particular animal decided, you know what, I'm just tired of seeing everything like a blur light. I'm just going to evolve a slit, and I want to just see what I'm not seeing so far. So it is literally a slit. And again, it's important to know this because that will stop you from drawing your eyes like that. This will become like a miniature painting eye. We'll leave it for that. What we want is the flow of lines from one to the other. The corner of the eyes are not touching. They don't do this. And these little things make your shapes more believable. Right, now somewhere over here, we are going to draw a very circular pupil. Right in the center, a lens. This is where all the light goes in. So it's always dark. Even if you have light eyes, this part is always dark. Leave a little on the top as a highlight reflection. And the reason we see mostly highlights on the top is because our eye is curved and much of the light that hits the face hits us from the top. Unless you're in a horror movie and you're holding a candle or something, then that will come at the bottom. So there are always exceptions. Now I'm going to shade just like a gentle shade from the top to the bottom. I could just do a quick shade like this, or I could actually spend some time and shade radially. And this will almost simulate the effect of a flexible iris, the muscles of the iris itself. Now, when you're doing this, you still have to keep the top part of the iris dark because there's always a shadow, the shadow of our upper lid and lashes that falls in that area. And for that matter, this entire space just underneath the lid is slightly shaded. So this is the outer part. We often don't see that. We often will just see this much. And we don't see, like we see the inner part of the membrane in the lower lid, you don't see it on the top normally. Now, above this, we are going to draw a lid, which is usually fatter in the central part and then comes closer towards the side. So again, it's almost like a globe. When you see the lines of the globe, they are fatter around the equator, but then they come closer towards the poles. So it's the same thing that's happening. This is the equator of something round, and it comes closer towards the poles. And then again, just take a measurement of the eye itself and about the same distance up, just to begin with. You can make the shape of an eyebrow. So the eyebrow sits on the socket. Now here's another very beautiful reason for that construction or the structure of the eye. If you hold your pencil or any object on your face, you'll notice how the eye is so well protected by the brow bone. That's not the brow bone, the eye socket, the eyebrow bone, and the cheekbone. So just try holding your pencil to your face and see that your eye may shut, but it will not feel the pressure. These little things are all about observation. I don't know why I think I should write a book for schools about how to draw and see your eye. So if you do this, you'll notice that the eye doesn't feel any pressure and it is pretty protected because the brow bone and the cheekbone will prevent anything from puncturing your eye because it's so important for our survival. So that's one. And secondly, this was taught in makeup school. If you hold your pencil to the tip of your nose, look straight in the mirror, and let the pencil run through to your eyebrow, the arch of your brow comes right on this line. So your nose, center of the eye, and wherever the trajectory is, that is where your arch should be. So it's on the outside. So try to not make your arch somewhere here. Like it's not like that. But we'll end up making it because we are not seeing properly. Oh, sorry. I don't know what I'm doing. Yeah, so that this arch should come along the side. So imagine someplace the nose is over here. If you draw a pencil line, well, if you hold a pencil and draw a line, that also didn't sound right. Now this, what I was talking about earlier, the hair of the eyebrows is also structured so that, like I said, they collect and usher, direct the sweat to the side of the eye. So these hair are more upright, and then the angle starts changing towards here, and they guide towards the outside. So this is not by coincidence, it's by evolution. Nothing on our faces is has appeared without reason. All right. Now, when it comes to lashes, a lot of times people are tempted to draw very dramatic lashes like that. And those are perfectly fine if you're going to have a made up face. But natural lashes are usually, even if they're long, they are protruding outwards. So you foreshorten them. So it's like this phenomenon where you know my finger is long, but you can see it only as a short object, a short stubby circle for that matter. But it's actually this long. So when we're drawing foreshortened lashes, we have to imagine that the lash emerges from the face or from the eye, and then you only see about so much of this. Along the sides, because the face is flattened, you see a lot more. And also the lashes along the side are slightly longer. And all these lashes grow radially. So the one in the center is straight up and out. The ones on the left will turn towards the left. One on the right will turn towards the right. So you don't have lashes that also are all in the same direction. That's again very unnatural. Keep them rounded. The lashes on the top are longer than the lashes at the bottom, but you can have some very light, thin lines for the bottom, never equidistant. So if you try to do something like that, it looks very abnormal. Now, this is the funny bit. While most beginners or people who start with art think that they can't even draw a straight line, it is almost impossible for them to draw lashes which are not regular or equidistant. I have to often correct. So they will make, if this is your eye, for some reason, we very naturally make our lashes like that. They've been planted. No, you have to, they are, how do you then distribute them so that they don't look equidistant? Again, it's still becoming equidistant. So we, our natural ability to keep order in things and draw things a certain way is quite strong. Okay, is everyone clear with the eye? All right, okay. So now let's take one of the eyes that I have shared on the group and try drawing those. So if you want, you could wait. I'm going to share the images first and speak about them. So the range of eyes that I have tried to share covers ages, genders, ethnicities. So we have here an old eye, probably Caucasian, Asian, Caucasian, could be South European, South Asian, all sorts. Looks like a young eye, a young eye, a young eye, an old eye, a made up eye, a crying eye. So there's a lot of variety. This as much as you want, you can do. Here again, I think this is the same as before. I'm not sure. No, sorry. And then also, yeah, one more. And then a set of nose and mouth. So you have this nose here, and as you can see, there is hardly any continuous line, but we will often be tempted to draw that wiggly worm kind of nose for this feature, and then like sugarcane growing out of the sides of his nostrils. So I don't know why. Then a nose mouth combination is also good because here you get a sense of proportion of nose, lips, teeth, and the space between. A very dramatic nose. And some more such combinations. Now you'll often find also a set of features like this, which is great to learn from. And here a set of features which are about, I guess, depicting the ages. You have a very young person and then a very old person, and how the eyes change through age. So here, one of the things that I can tell you immediately is notice how the proportion of the eye versus proportion of the eye and the iris is in the baby's eyes. And as the eye grows older, the proportion changes and the iris starts becoming smaller and smaller, and the skin around that starts becoming bigger. This is a one way of showing age. We'll come to that during the portrait class in May for sure.
Aditi, one of the interesting things about the eyes is also that it's probably the only feature that you're born in that doesn't change too much in size.
It doesn't change at all in size. You're born with the eyeball. The eyeball is size that you're going to need through your life. That's incredible. That's the only one that doesn't grow. That's true. It just deteriorates, sadly.
But that I think is the reason why the same person as a child appears to have big, huge eyes.
Yes.
And then when they grow older, you just can't see where those big baby eyes were.
Yeah.
They just get lost in.
Correct. So the face grows around the eyes. That's how it works. The noses grow longer, eyes become wide apart. So as you age, everything just moves away, sadly. Okay, so what I want you to do is pick any of these. Today we're doing eyes, so just pick any of these eyes and we're going to try to sketch them out. So I'm going to show you one before and just the process of how we should do it. And then you can begin after I have shown you about half of this. So let's see, which is the eye that I should do. Maybe I can do this one. All right. Now, one thing I want you to note over here is when an eye is not looking straight at you, the shape of the iris changes. Everything starts becoming more oval. So in this case, if I were to make, while in our head this might look like a circle, I'm going to make a circle around it. This is a perfect circle. Let me try one more time. And this little significant edge coming inward is very, very crucial. Not only that, the position and the shape of the lens will also change. It becomes a little more oval and a little towards the left because of foreshortening, the left side of the iris is not as clearly visible as the right side. So if you don't do this, and if you draw a circular eye, your eye will look like it is on that side of the face, but looking straight at you. You can try it just to see how it looks. But notice that these small shape changes are all it takes to change the feature. Okay. Now here's a chance. Forget about getting the eye accurately. We are not interested in only that. What we are interested in is how we are drawing it. So hold your pencil far away and build a scaffolding for yourself. So have that dialogue and notice how much, of course, first keep ample space to accommodate the eyebrow. Don't let the eyebrow go into your earlier drawing. There is a particular angle at which the tear duct is seen here, and the end of the eye is a little higher than the tear duct. If I just were to draw it on a horizontal, the inner eye of the inner part of the top lid is much more upright, and the outer part is pretty horizontal. Yeah, much flatter. Yeah.
Can you please send the pics to me? I'm not in the group.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Let me just do that first. Okay, did you get them?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. I'm just gonna add you to this group, Narida. Okay, yeah. So I want you to make a lot of light sketchy lines. If you hold the pencil this far, you should be able to make much sketchier lines than usual. And allow for these lines to become part of your drawing. So it's not as if you draw this and then uske upar you're going to draw a fair line. Smoothly transition into shading and creating the shapes that you see. So this is the kind of sketchy line we want to make. Now, since we work from photographs, this one is not a sketch, but what we are making is a sketch. Let your sketch look like a sketch. It need not look like a photograph. So it does not have those kinds of finishes. do a very light shade in the beginning. And then you can start making darker shades. So as you are making more and more lines, the illustration or the feature will be sculpted out of your paper. And that is what we want. So it need not even be like a finished picture as long as you get your features in. And learn to love these sketchy lines. They are just, I get so excited when I see the prospect of pencil sketching. I can't tell you. Just these lines make me, I'd rather do this than even sleep at night. So each line that you are seeing, you have to try to recreate. Now here the lashes are very dramatic because she's probably wearing either mascara or fake lashes, or maybe in a perfect world, she might be blessed with these lashes also. That'll be nice. 1 second. Okay, so this is what we need to do. Do you all want to start? When you're making your lines, see if your lines are very fluid. So I am trying very hard to describe this. So when you draw a line, just see that your line comes down on paper and then is taken off without without any dots marking it. So we're not drawing like these lines, not today. I can't even draw them anymore. Okay, let me try and draw it with my left hand. So, no, not happening. No. Sometimes when you draw a line, there's a very definite start to the line. We want to avoid that. It should seem like it's come out of thin air, existed for a while, and then just vanished into nothing. That's the kind of line we want. And it can be in all sorts of darknesses. It can be light, dark, thick, thin. So even when you're sketching over here, you should be able to modulate that line. So here we're going to bring out all our previous sketching techniques also. Some places you can draw lines, some places you can shade. And some places you can also use a mechanical pencil, especially where we have lashes, because this regular pencil may not be sharp enough. You can use a mechanical pencil with a 0.5 lead, and these leads also you can get them in HB or 2B, sometimes even 6B. So you can look for those leads for adequate dark lines. And where this helps is also in places like these, just under the eye, when you have to make some details in the, like we have the highlight in the eye. And there are some, the highlight is not just a flat space, it has the reflection of the lashes and some features. Then the features in the iris. So my time pass during my 11th standard used to be this. I used to make pictures of models from, so there was a library in the neighborhood that used to get these magazines. They had Vogue and Cosmo, international magazines. This was in the 80s. And the first few pages, like we know now, are only cosmetics. And they had such brilliant models and brilliant photography, very clear features, and often a very large face. So I used to go to the library and pick out these images and then come home. It all started first with reading the magazine, but then I realized that it had better potential as for reference images than anything else. So every day I would go and change the magazine and make these faces. And recently I found those sketches, but I have again safely kept them somewhere in storage. I hope today afternoon I get some time and I'll share those with you. So it's a good thing that I continued with art. So I'm much better now than I was then, but I was not bad then either. I'm very proud of the work that I did at 16 and mostly self-motivated. I guess because I was bored also. There's nothing better to do. And thank God I'm not interested in sports or anything, because then otherwise I would have joined some sports and that would have been the end of that. Now, when we are studying features like that in detail, the important things also to note are tonal differences. So can you see that within the white of the eye also, the highlight seems to be slightly whiter than the white of the eye. Can you see that? It's a very, very subtle shade difference. And then also it's not uniform. It's just a little bit along the corners and the top, and then it's bright white over here again. These are such subtleties that most people don't even think that they're significant, but we as keen objective observers of our subject must see these. And in portraiture, very often we land up seeing these. I could do this all day, every day. So you can imagine this week has been my most favorite week. I've done this in every class, I think six classes so far. And today's eye is just so beautiful. The first eye was not that great on Tuesday, I must admit. So within 6 days, has it been 6 days? Yeah. Already my quality has improved. And it's not the quality of illustration. That is not what was going wrong in my case. It was observation. I hadn't drawn eyes in a long time. So I was not seeing shapes correctly yet. But 6 days of drawing eyes, which took about 20 minutes, and I'm on track. Yeah, this is by far the best, no doubt. Professionally, when portraits and pencil might be made, or any kind of pencil sketch, they would definitely use blending stumps, which I would like to use next week. So I just want to demonstrate how it works. It's a great time pass tool. And I didn't even know they existed till maybe 10 years ago. And that also I couldn't understand what or how to use it. So I honestly have been watching YouTube videos about how to use pencil paper stumps for pencil shading. The point being that so when I was younger, when I saw pencil sketches, the first time I saw pencil sketches was on a trip to Paris. And there are these artists at Montmartre who are making such beautiful art. And I didn't notice that they were using erasers. They would make quick sketches, portraits of tourists around, and they weren't using their fingers to blend or anything. Most of their sketching was like that. So I was under the impression that that is high art. That is how you're supposed to do art. So when I came across this, it almost seemed as if I was cheating. I was cheating those artists that I admired so much. But this is also a tool that works very well, and you can do more with pencil. So although I'm not much of a fan of the paper stump because of various reasons, we should use all these tools and then decide for ourselves what we would like for ourselves. So I'm going to leave this eye the way it is. I'm going to make another one in which I will use the paper stump to demonstrate how it's working. But we will use it next week. So if you can order, it comes in a set sometimes of 3, 6, 9, 10, like this. Any amount is fine, any size is fine. I still haven't figured out why the different sizes are used, but I suppose it's the distance, the area that you want blended. So if this is a large painting, this would be a very tedious action to do. So this would be a slightly better action, is my guess.
Ma'am, just give me one moment. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Aditi, can you show you mine?
Yes. Okay. But Vanika, how large have you made this? It's very large.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me just get a closer look. All right. Okay, now because it is so large, the pencil lines are very visible. That's one thing. Can you keep it up, held up? So I can continue. Yeah. All in all, I think you've got the structure pretty okay. The shapes are fine. The direction of the lashes, just in a few places where you've got those crosses in the lashes, they're
Mhm.
a little too crossed. So a little bit like that is fine. But if it's too crossed, then you notice that either one or both of them are behaving as if they should, that the line is curved a little more than necessary.
Okay.
That's what has happened. So if this is the teary eye, right? So
Yeah.
you might let me just see where the yeah. So the tear you've drawn very beautifully towards the bottom. There is a little between the iris and the tear. There is a little slight gray line which separates. There's like a little bumpiness that separates the tear from the eyeball. Can you see it? Let me just show you. Why am I not showing you the screen? Yeah, can you see this line?
Yeah. Okay.
And
Yeah.
it goes all the way here. So this is the inner line of the membrane. Now this would continue like this, in fact, but you have because of that tear, there's a bump in the line. So while this would have continued
Mm-hmm.
slightly lower and go all the way like that, because of the tear, there's a little bump like this. But then there's shading, a bit of shading. Okay? Try that. Now, I'll show you the
Yeah.
place where your lashes have gone a little haywire. So you draw this fellow, this is perfectly fine.
Yeah.
There's one that's doing something like this. So,
Oh,
see,
yeah.
he's got a complete U-turn and saying, no, I'm not going out. I'm going back into the eye. All right. Yeah, who's next? Okay, Swara, let's see yours. Very nice. Swara, have you used the blending stump? With some blending? Okay, hold it up. Let's see. Have you used your finger or something to blend it? Oh, very nice. Okay, now I want to see which eye you did. This was it, na? Okay. So notice the fewer eyebrow hairs. So I think you got carried away and made lots of eyebrow hairs over there. You know? And you've got the shape and all very nicely. The next thing for you to do is to notice the various tones that are there within the skin. So right now you probably have about 3 tones that I can discern, but there's a little more. So that we can create more contrast. So getting the shapes right, shading, we need to create more contrast. All right.
Okay.
Very nice. Okay, let's see. Anashri's looking nice. 1 minute. I'm going to pin it. Okay, very good. So this, again, the size of the eye, Anashri, is a little large. So next time you can make it slightly smaller. So it's a little more controlled. Okay. You've got all the elements there very nicely. Some of the lashes are too flat, I think. So around the center, like I said, they need to come upward. So almost it's like this that they need to spread out. And I think the eyebrow, for the size of your eye, the eyebrow could have been a little higher. I'm just thinking is which eye this is. Is this the eye that's looking up? The light colored eye that's looking up. So let's just examine this. Okay, keep your drawing up so I can just give you an analysis. Yeah. So you've got, I'll show you the part that you've got right. First, you've got this part right. You've got a very nice round of the top. You've got this part right. You've got a third of the lashes, or yeah, all this right. And mostly even this. So you got this angle of the lashes also right. But here something's missing. That's why it almost seems as if the lashes over here were ironed flat, and these you're going to iron in a little while. You've got the proportion of the eyeball very nicely. The shape needs to be a little more rounded. So where you've gone straight up, it needs to come out like that. Okay. The inner eye, you've drawn very well. The shading needs to be a little lighter because when you make this dark, it looks as if we have put in some makeup. So a little lighter would have helped. You've got a nice shadow on both sides. That's good. And another thing that maybe you did not notice is at this position of the eye, the bottom is almost a straight line. Hai? So that's the structure of the eye. Now, as far as the eyebrow is concerned, you have got this part right. So it's a matter of the distance. So if your lashes have come here, maybe at least the size of your lashes could have been the distance between the upper lid and the lower part of the eyebrow. And usually this eyebrow will be extended here to give us a more natural look. But then you're not to know that yet. This lady, poor thing, has no arch, so it's also going to look a little rounded, but we can often make our own arches also. So how I would do this is to consider this the straight line and this the arch. And then just a few hairs like you see them. But that blue part is the thicker part of the eyebrow. All right, I think very good. A few proportions here or there, and you are doing well. Wonderful.
Can I show mine?
Yeah, okay, let me see Susan. She's picked up. Yeah, very nice. Let me just pin it, Susan. Okay, very good. Nice. You've got the shape very well. There's a little pinching of the eyes on the side that I can see. Maybe the line just needs to stop at one point, and the
Here?
bottom. Yeah, correct. So it's going outward, and the eyelashes are pulling the eye out even more, I say. The iris is beautiful, the reflection is very nice. Even the shading lines are very good. I think you can increase your tonal variation a bit. So the lighter shades could be increased, and then in a few places you can add more dark like this. But all in all, you've got a very nice the feel of the eye is looking very good. Also consider that the eyebrow could be extended a little to a little beyond the tear duct, so that
Okay.
it gets a more
Yeah.
bigger face. Because right now it's looking like it's almost sideways. You're looking at the face.
Yeah.
So this can
Okay.
become more three-quarter view, and
Yeah.
maybe a little bit of tweezing from the top. It's gotten very excited on the
Yeah.
top.
Yeah.
Aditi,
Okay.
can you see mine?
Yes, one second. Let me just check Rida's. Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Looking good. Yeah, since Rida asked before.
This one. This was the Asian.
Yes, even I. Very nice, looking good. Complete the eyebrow because we need to see it in the context of the eyebrow. Very good. Alka, I'm seeing yours next. Nice. That reflection has turned out so pretty. Very good. Iris is good as well. The lower lid, can you see it almost looks
Uh,
like it's being pulled down. It's
yeah.
it's almost horizontal actually.
Okay.
Now don't change
Yeah,
it.
it's got.
Great.
Okay.
But because you've done such a lovely gentle shading over here, it's looking really nice. What I'm going to
Okay.
suggest is to keep this legitimate sketch is just see that on inside your iris. I'll just draw this for you. Let me just draw it and show you. So as I see it, this is the shape of your iris. You've got the shape perfectly fine. You've got this, you've got that reflection. And then there's something like that that's happening. There's some kind of angular shading.
Yes.
So
Correct.
we want to get rid of that. It has
Okay.
to be very smooth.
Okay.
Okay. And you can make it a little dark on the top. And then as you are bringing it in, you don't have to color everything too dark, but do shade, put some kind of pencil shading on it and smoothen these angles. Those angles are looking
Okay.
little unnatural in the eye.
Okay.
Though the shape of the eye is unnatural, if you can modify this, it will look like legitimate eye, but almost like creative expression for an eye, like that.
Okay. Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Aditya, I
Yeah.
shared
Thanks.
my picture on the group.
Okay, let
Let me
me
take a look.
check. Saturday. Oh. On which group have you shared it? I can't see.
The Saturday.
Okay.
Saturday.
No, I can't see.
Yeah, it's not come.
It's not
It's
coming.
not come.
Now it's come.
Yeah.
Has it? Okay, it'll come to me in a bit. Ritika's is looking good. Let me just expand it and see. Okay, very nice. So now the lines of your eyebrows, can you just take it a little behind because it's not focusing? Is it not focusing? Okay. So lines of the eyebrows are the ones that I was telling you to avoid. This, like and especially if you've made it with your mechanical pencil. This is the quality of the line. This does not look as convincing as you can start sharp, but because you want to show that the eyebrows have a start, they don't just come out of thin air. But keep the line flowing and not just like this. It has to be curved. These lines can look like porcupine quills. Okay, can I see it again, Ritika? Let me see what other things I can help you out with. The iris is good. The pupil, the lens could be a little to the left, I think. Shading is very nice. I really like it. Again, you can work on creating shades as the pencil moves. Okay, so modulating pressure and then creating more range. All right. Okay, so this was fun. Yeah, let me see Varsha.
Aditya, could you see? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
there in the
very
group.
nice. I'm so impressed with everyone's eyes. I love it. Hannah, aren't you all impressed? I'm so impressed. These are so good. So yes, definitely scope for improvement, but look at them. Look at that whole reflection and the 3D-ness of the eyeball and all. It's just very nice. So to comment, I would say these little lashes, eyebrows that you've drawn at the bottom, of the eye here, they need to be a little
Okay.
longer. So they need to be incorporated into the main eyebrow. Right now, there's a gap between them. Can you see? So that gap needs to be gently filled out. So next time when you're making that, when you make a line, just see what it is doing in that picture. Is it needed? Now the original image does have some very tiny hairs, but they they start over here, and then they're not as numerous. So there are about 3 or 4 of them. And we remember, you're in control of your illustration. So if they are not making sense to you, you don't have to include them in your sketch. In photographs, things look very different. Unless you match the exact same tone in a sketch, it can look very different. Okay.
Yeah, got it.
All
And
right.
by the way, Aditi, the first eyebrow that you drew, so did you make a outline like a silhouette kind of thing, or it's just the lines which make up the shape
No, I did.
towards the end on the top? Yeah,
No,
the
I
eyebrow, first eyebrow.
this one, right? This one.
Yeah, yeah.
Or this one.
Yeah,
This,
the one that you're pointing to. Yes.
all right.
Yeah.
So I made a shape. So I use this. If this is the eye, I use this as a measure to take so that I could decide on where my eyebrow can be. Then remember that measure I told you, imagine the side of the nose and drawing a line to get the arch. And then I actually made a shape like this. This is the basic shape, but when I structure it, I draw the eyebrows around them. So this basic structure, the silhouette, just gives me like a room to play in. And then depending upon how the rest of the eye progresses, then I go around it. And if I were to make this entire thing the silhouette, then these lines would show. But here I can fill up the eyebrow. So it's almost as if you've used like an eyebrow filling powder or one of those things that they come up with in makeup. You don't, it's quite ugly when you put that eyebrow pencil across your entire eye. So if you start from here and put a silhouette on your eyebrows, it just starts looking like one Ravan things. And they do that a lot for little children. I don't know why they do it. I mean, we know why they do it. So we don't want that. But the same pencil, if you just darken somewhere in the middle of the eyebrow, it looks a little more natural. The eyebrows look thicker, but they don't have to look artificial.
Yeah.
So that's the kind I'm doing. So this is almost like in reverse. I'm creating the filler first, and then I'm going to draw the eyebrows on top of them.
Got it.
Okay.
Can I show-
Yes, yes.
Okay, Aditi, I'm leaving. I've got some people
Very
over,
nice.
so I'll just leave now.
Okay, okay. Cool. I'm also ending the
Bye,
session.
everybody.
So please get those paper stumps. Very nice, Rida. So put it on the group, or actually send it to me. I'll put it on the group, and I'll add you to the group as well. So next week we will be doing sketching of faces, sketching of faces, and let me see what is the date after that. March. Just 1 second. So yeah, next week we'll be doing faces, and if you can get these paper stumps, it'll be good. Then we can experiment with this also. And I'll also be doing the nose mouth bit before we do the faces, so that can be tackled also. For homework during this week, you can practice more of the eyes that I've sent, or on Pinterest, I have a board called Pencil Paradise, in which I have shared a lot of images of reference images, which you can use for pencil shading. Some are direct pencil shading, some are photographs, but they're very good. So you can just follow that and just pick out pictures from there and use. Okay, all right. So I'll see you next week then. Bye, everyone.
I want to say
Thanks,
something.
bye.
Rida, can we
Bye.
can we speak later because I have another session at 11:30.
Sure.
Yeah, just send me
Yeah,
a
yeah, sure.
message. All right. Okay.
Bye,
Okay.
ma'am.
Thank
Thank
you. Bye.